Start on a powerful note. Now, the Kenya Power and Lighting Company has this actually morning held an extraordinary board meeting with an aim to relook the structure of the board composition. Jimmy Mbogo is currently at the KPLC headquarters and joins me with more. Jimmy, what is the aim of these changes at the KPLC board?
All right, thank you very much, Noah, and a very good afternoon to you too. Yes, of course, this was the extraordinary general meeting that was happening here at the KPLC headquarters. And one of the things that has come out, and there's a question that you've asked, is the issue of just trying to align the company to make it a commercially viable entity. And now I'm joined by the board chair, that is Miss Joy Brenda Masinde, just to be able to help us understand why are these changes important, what do they mean for consumers and particularly customers who have been complaining about a few things to do with KPLC. Madam Joy, thank you so much for making time to speak to KTN. So first things first, when you talk about some of these the changes and particularly to do with the board composition, what is the net effect of that, or what does that then what is that expected to attain in the long run?
Thank you very much. I think one of the things we have to admit is that there has been the impression that there's too much government interference in the running and in the running of the day-to-day affairs of the Kenya Power Company. This in large part is a perception, because once you join the board, your biggest allegiance is to ensure that the company moves forward. But in order to change this perception, the government made a commitment that it was going to allow the running of the Kenya Power Company to be in a manner that is reflective of the shareholding. This was part of the Kenya Kwanza commitment in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, and in that manifesto, Kenya Power Company being run as a commercially viable company, one of the things we must fix is the governance of the company. And so in today's EGM, we asked our shareholders if they agreed with this position, if they would really like to have this extra voice, and overwhelmingly, by a vote of 99%, our shareholders have agreed that indeed they want to have a share and they want to have a stake in deciding who the directors of the company are. So beginning this year at our AGM, we will see the shareholders electing, independent of the government vote, 4 new directors or 4 continuing directors as they decide to serve on the board.
Right. Madam Joy, I'm going to put you on the spot, and of course the question then that comes to mind is this an admission that there has been a lapse, particularly of how the company has been run?
Not necessarily. It is just, how do I put it? It is correcting a perception that government is vested in the company to an extent that it does not want to have anybody else in control of the company. So in order to dispel this, the government decided, you know what, we are going to open this up so that the shareholders also have a voice. Before, they did have a voice. It was an indirect voice because it was through the government. But at this point now, we have an opportunity where the shareholders choose the directors directly. So in the Class A category of shareholding, the government will not participate in the voting, and all the directors elected in that way will be direct nominees of the shareholders. But once they join the board, together with the ones nominated by government, then they'll form one strong board. So it's not really an admission of impropriety, it's an enhancement of good governance.
Right. And of course, I'm sure the Kenyans will be asking themselves, okay, these changes are happening at the board level. How then does that influence operations of the company, and particularly the ones that go down, that deal with customers directly?
Now, you see, now that's where this is important, because if the board level is responsible for strategy, this strategy is what management and the company employees also propagate. And so this is an opportunity for the shareholders also feel that they have a direct impact in what happens in the strategic direction of the company. We've had, like during today's EGM, there were 1 or 2 questions that came from the shareholders that tell you they're thinking about the strategic direction of the company. They asked about immobility. They asked about the ESG, whether the company was looking at sustainability. So you can tell shareholders have got input in terms of the strategic direction of the company. So for them to feel that these concerns are actually being addressed, and and it's not just the interest of the government that's being advanced, they have an opportunity to influence the direction of the management and the direction that the employees will take moving forward. So it's very important for them as well.
All right, apart from just the perception that you're seeking to change, there's also the question of what other loopholes does this change then deal with or sort of sort?
I think in terms of giving reflective shareholding, what it also does, for those who are interested in investing in the company, we are hoping it will also lend an air of credibility to give them the extra boost, the extra confidence that maybe having shares in Kenya Power is a good idea. Our share price has plummeted to a level that has not been seen before. We have come to a place where there is a turnaround. Our profits are improving. Our performance is improving. There are major indicators, for example, the forex fluctuations and other things that are still affecting our profitability. But with the trajectory the company is taking, we are hoping that those who are observing the company will realize that this is a very good time to invest in the Kenya Power Company. Because by the time we are done with these changes in governance and with the trajectory that the company is taking in terms of a return to profitability, within the next 5 years, it should be a company people will be wondering, why did they not invest when they had a chance? And so we are hoping that this is a message that will go forward.
All right, because then that brings me to the other question, which is on the issue of what metrics are we going to use, or should Kenyans look out to use and judge that this was the right move for the company?
The first and foremost, I think, will be whether the shareholders, the Class A shareholders, actually participate in it. The interest that we have seen from our Class A shareholders has actually, because now the changes have been effected, the Class A shareholders now, if they enthusiastically embrace this, because when we joined the company, I think we'd come to a place where some of the shareholders felt it doesn't matter what we do, and so even their interest in participating in company affairs had waned. But now I'm hoping this will bring back confidence that the shareholders will be active in participating in the company affairs. And not just that, we have a great number of ex-employees and even current employees who are also shareholders. We hope that that will also give them the confidence that working in the company, investing in the company in which they're also working is not a bad idea, that they will put in more commitment, knowing that eventually this will pay off. So we are hoping that this will also cure the lethargy amongst our shareholders, feeling that maybe the company was not headed in the right direction. Now we have a strong board that is willing to make bold decisions, regardless of whether we stay on the board or not. We are willing to put our best foot forward. And not only that, in terms of the company side, a lot has gone on out of the public in terms of streamlining our board policies and directions and everything in the company, so that come next year, the financial position of the company will be a strong position. So this is what we're hoping it will do.
All right, lastly, of course, speaking of the financial position of the company, there's then the question of the financial implication of these changes at the board. We've seen companies and even listed companies that are making losses, yet the board members are smiling all the way to the bank.
You know, with us, we have the double whammy of being a listed company, but we're still a state corporation. So by virtue of the company having 50.1% of the shares being held by the government, any institution that has got more than 50% ownership in the government is a state corporation. So there's only 4 of us, and KPLC has the benefit of being one of them. So that means our directors' emoluments are all dictated by SCAC. And so it's not a matter of us sitting down and deciding, you know what, this is what we're going to give ourselves as bonuses or emoluments. Everything, even any trips we take, any board meetings we have, everything is regulated by government. And so in terms of the financial implication, it's exactly the same as has been before, because the number remains the same, the participation, the number of meetings we have, the engagement is still exactly the same. How much every director gets as remuneration is still exactly the same. So it will not cost the company more to change the structure. What it will do is just enhance transparency. And so this might even help somebody who's trying to make a decision as to whether to try to become a director on Kenya Power. It may not be as financially lucrative. It is still a lot of service because of the regulations that we are still under as a state corporation.
All right, Madam Joy, thank you so much for making time to speak to us. And of course, there you have it, Noah. These are some of the conversations that we'll be looking forward, particularly during the company's annual general meeting, which is expected to happen in December. But for now, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Jimmy, for that report on the changes of the Kenya Power and Lighting Company. Now, International Workplace Group, the world's foremost provider of hybrid work installations,